Previously on the Game On podcast.
And I reckon that was during the Adelaide Test match, and the scores
Yes,
the scores kept coming over
correct.
the PA system, and I think that sort of helped me a lot as well. But then, ended up having a good second season, got into the Australia A side, and at the time I was just playing some really good cricket. So, fortunately I was able to get some runs for Australia A, and bang, all of a sudden people are talking about me playing, a test match or the home test match in Adelaide against England. And I didn't really take it that seriously. And then all of a sudden got the phone call and I'm playing test cricket.
And batting number 6, so your bowling did certainly help you getting picked originally, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was bowling a fair bit for South Australia because we were playing two spinners and two quicks, so I sort of had to bowl a few overs. Then for Australia A, it was all 50 over cricket, so I'd bowl a few overs there as well.
Were you involved with the Australia AV, the Australian side?
Yes.
How important? We've obviously, Malcolm's just asked how important was Australia A, but
That's
how
right,
important was Australia A in getting that going to assist the development of players? When really there hadn't been an Australian A team that had been sort of put head to head against the A side, I suppose.
I think it just gave us a little bit to strive for because, as you've sort of alluded to, the depth in Australian cricket at that time was huge, absolutely huge. Like there was probably at least a dozen of us batters lining up, just getting runs after runs. I could go through lots of names. But,
Hayden Law, it was crazy
Lehman,
how strong we were here, Buff, obviously, yeah.
I mean, Martin Love, guys like this that were really good players. So I think it just, really gave us something to, like the Australia A team just, and then gave us some exposure at international level. So, for me, it was huge. And I think, once I went into the Australian team, at least I'd sort of met a few of the Aussie boys, and it just gave me, a little bit more level of comfort, I suppose.
Sportscast SA presents Game On. Game On. South Australians' destination for everything sports. Local, national, and international sports. AFL football, soccer, basketball, golf, baseball, tennis, cricket, and any other sports played in this wide world. And we're going to have a blast doing it. So sit back, relax, and let's do this thing. Welcome to Game On.
Welcome to Game On. My name's Pete, and once again, Malcolm in the studio today. And Bluey, absolutely fantastic last week, just talking about his obviously exploits in the Australia A team and getting into the Australian team, but some fun, a little bit of fun along the way there.
Yeah, a bit of feedback from people there saying, it was a good interview, but they were pissing themselves laughing about Bluey's answering machine, because obviously that's reasonably well known, etc. And Taylor with Bluey was answering machine got a bit of a mirth, but yes, complimented around the traps for our interview there, mate.
Absolutely. So we thank Bluey for his time in episode or part 1. Part 2 coming up a little bit later today. Let's get into Around the Grounds.
Around the Grounds.
All right, mate, today getting in around the grounds, we're going to talk the SANFL, SANFLW in the cricket, but first we'll start off with Adelaide, mate. I'll let you go first. What can you say? The Crows' dilemma is hitting fever pitch.
Yeah, look, I just think it's showing that the bottom end of their list is nowhere near good enough. Blunders with drafting, but also lack of development. Like Chase Jones was a top-level draft choice in McHenry, and yet really neither of them have improved. There's just been the odd sign here and there, and both seem to have plateaued a bit where, remembering, both got picked before Zach Butters.
Yep.
You need at least one of them to go through to be a really, really good player, not run-of-the-mill. So you've got that poor drafting and poor development as well. And probably poor drafting is a bit unfair because you're watching the kids, and don't dare think all the clubs have pretty much the same. It's very similar. And you watch a kid at 18's level and all that. I will go back to any kid I've umpired at, probably the most skills was Aaron Fiora, and yet he never really progressed. He played some AFL footy for both Richmond and St Kilda, but never went on from being that unbelievable junior where I went, yes, I would have picked him that as well.
But does that get into environment, as in which clubs have got the right environment? Because I did have on sort of my hot topics or list today that Geelong and Sydney seem to be the two best clubs as far as best practice goes in supporting their players and progressing them, either fast-tracking them or progressing them as they need to be progressed.
And I also think Collingwood this year, the amount of injuries Collingwood had has been way worse than Adelaide.
Yep.
And but they've still, every game, having a crack. You know what you're going to get. The system, the effort doesn't vary. Where with Adelaide, because their bottom end isn't good enough, they just fall away.
Yep.
And, I think realistically, unless Adelaide miraculously get two or three very, very good players in trade time, they're down. They're going to be down for a fair while.
Yep. Well, we did pull no punches last week, saying that we do believe that they're probably at this stage a bottom four side.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a bottom 4 to bottom 6 list.
Yep. And that's fair call. All right, so we've talked previously about how West Coast and the Tim Kelly trade hasn't gone right.
Yep.
I've traced back and done a little bit of research here all the way back to the Bryce Gibbs trade.
Some horrendous ones. Yep.
So from that point onwards, and I'll quickly go through some of the main ones. Obviously, out of that trade for Bryce Gibbs with Carlton get the coning.
Yep.
Look what's happened there. And then you look at, obviously, the Crows have got Fogarty. Looking at some of their first-round draft picks, you've got Gallucci, Fogarty, Chase Jones, Ned McHenry, Fisher Maxey, Riley Thilthorpe, Luke Pedler, Josh Rochelle, Michael Lanny, and Dan Curtin. Now, all right, we know the Maxey one, scratch that one straight away, didn't work. But when you're taking, and Gallucci a little bit as well, but Fogarty hasn't gone on like we'd wanted, and neither has Chase Jones.
It's funny on the not funny as in hilarious, but in terms of Gallucci, that wasn't the recruiters. If the recruiting staff had got their way on that, that's Tim English. Mm-hmm. Now you have Tim English in that Adelaide side, an actual ruckman, compared to what they've got.
Makes
that changes them up dramatically.
Yep.
And that was Don Pike. Insisted on a midfielder and overruled. Now, that was a total bust on a few other things. And that off the ground, they're in that selection as well. If you stuff up a draft choice like that, have a look at the ramifications there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I'll go right back, how football's different. If James Fantasia had got his way as head of recruiting at Adelaide, they would have ended up with Kane Corns and Sean Burgoyne. Now, how much does that change footy history?
Yep.
So it's incredible. It is a fine line.
I sort of had known about that, and we've obviously talked about it, and it's been around the traps for a little while. Yep. But I did find an article that dates back to 2020 where Mark Bickley and Malcolm Blight both call for a revision, obviously, because they were going through the rebuild.
Yep.
A revision, and whether Reid and Ogilvy are the correct choices to be in that place there. 4 years later, we're right back to square one again.
Yeah.
That's the danger now of, do they go back to the draft? Because you're not going to be attracting good players. And in the last week or so, we lost McCluggage, who's off the list, and Hayward is now off the list.
And Tasmania to come in.
Correct.
So, it's a huge worry. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Just a couple of names I want to throw at you that would have changed things. And again, going back to that article where Kane Corns and Burgoyne would have been in it. But let's just say that Dangerfield, Davis, Gunston, Tippett, Lever, Cameron and Mitch McGovern were all on Adelaide's list. Now, all right, people move on for various reasons. I totally get that. Totally understand that. But you've got to look at your club as best practices. That club is not providing best practice when it comes to not only retaining talented players, but developing players as well. And huge questions are now going to be asked.
Oh, it has to be. You can't lose that many and that much class.
This is what I'm saying. If something's not right.
Yeah. Look, there are a couple there. I've got, knowing the full story, got no problem at all with that, and they had no gripes with Adelaide. But there's a couple there who did have massive gripes with Adelaide.
Yep.
And, so they're...
I mean, you can
they've
put
lost
Duday onto that list as well. But you're right. When you're losing class like that, I mean, think about how strong Adelaide actually would have been if they were able to retain that. Again, totally get that players go home for... family reasons and want to move for different reasons. But there are some reasons that just don't make sense, and they would have been a lot better side.
Purely keep Dangerfield. There's probably at least one more cup in the cabinet.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's stick with Adelaide. Let's sort of be positive, but also we still need to talk about some of the big topics there. The Crows headquarters finally get the go-ahead, but today we've just heard that with the the unions might sort of halt that process a little bit, but at least it's one further step closer than we were at this time last week.
It's annoying that having worked in that spec area sort of things, that dickheads like that, how much trouble they cause and how much respect unions lose.
Yep.
Despite the fact that a lot of unions are doing the right thing and are very important, you get one bad apple like that, and how much trouble that causes for everyone else.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I know Adelaide are probably not quite ready to break ground yet, and this is only just broken, obviously, in the last
don't
few
worry.
hours,
They're ready to break ground.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm saying in the timeline of things, they're probably not quite ready there yet, but they would like to as soon as possible, so totally understand that. Let's go back to on the field a little bit. Players not really knowing what's going on. I know the Rochelle interview was blown out of proportion, and he's come out and said, look, they've only taken certain excerpt from that, and he was talking about this week. But it does look a little bit like that on the ground, that some players are not 100% sure as to what their role is and how they should be playing it.
Oh, look, there was no doubt last week with the injuries they've got that they were threadbare up in the forward line, and Burgess isn't good enough.
Now, that's an interesting
in terms of
recruit
not consistent,
as well, or a trade.
Yeah, not consistent enough. The gap between his good and his bad is enormous. Mm-hmm. Ball ace plays up forward because Gallant, unfortunately, a time where they would have given Gallant a chance, he's been injured as well. Cook got injured. There really wasn't that much left. You looked at that Adelaide forward line before the game, and I thought,
it's threadbare.
Yeah, I can't see them kicking a winning score.
Were you surprised the ball ace started up forward? I thought he presented well.
Yeah, not really, because he did play a bit there as a kid and that as well. So I didn't find that super surprising. I just think it showed where they were at, but they didn't really have that many options.
Were you surprised that Richmond ended up getting the job done against Adelaide? Because I thought Adelaide had enough to just get over the line, but the three big inclusions for Richmond probably just changed that narrative a little bit.
But I think Strawn getting injured, and so all of a sudden Nankervis is rucking, whatever, and that made it a bit farcical, And I thought it was well and truly overdue a time that Strawn got a decent look, but he jags a groin. Now, it does seem weird that he jagged a groin, and yet they're saying that he'll be available this week. That doesn't add up. So, I don't get that.
Is that a case of that they were maybe thinking giving him 3 or 4 weeks just to sort of give him the AFL exposure? Because he looked gassed at quarter time, but because he's been on the AFL list for so long and not played any games, you can't expect anything different.
And then the annoying part is, Ruck's my big bear as a Crow supporter.
Absolutely.
So, I would like to give him a decent opportunity.
Why didn't they put Burgess in ruck and leave Nankervis down back?
Yeah.
That's a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't work that out either. But anyway.
Anyway, all right, let's stick with Adelaide. I thought some positives from the game was Billy Dowling finally getting his opportunity.
Yeah, but play him on ball, for goodness sake. That's what he's played all his career, all his juniors. Gun on baller. With what they've got, play him there.
Goes back to my point a couple of weeks ago that we talked about in that put a midfield together for 3 or 4 weeks. Let him go.
Yeah.
Just let it go, because whilst you keep turning around and saying we're mathematically a chance to make that
bullshit.
I get you want to be positive, and I get you want to give as much opportunity to your supporters to throw some support behind you. But I think they're smart enough to know that putting a group together for a couple of weeks and just letting him go, and that is the plan, well, then tell them that's what the plan is.
Yeah, it's got me.
All right, mate, I've got some audio I want to play for you, and then let's move on from here.
I don't rate the decision makers that are now having to make judgment on this decision, where we are now, moving forward with the list. And you know who I'm talking about. Your football director, Mark Rasciuto. Now, people say I've been into him for years. Yeah, because this was always coming. This tsunami of response of where we are. Justin Reid, the list management team, that list management group has to 100% go in the Bunsen burner. I know what's going to happen. We're going to have a review. Tim Silvers will stand up. We're going to have a review. An internal one, an external one, doesn't matter. It might be a combination of the both. And I know what will happen. They'll throw an assistant under the bridge. They'll say the development's not right. And the same key people that I've been in onto for a number of years will still remain in those chairs. And I think that's the frustration that a lot of the Crows fans have. On the trains, the buses, the trams now. Not enough people say it. It's a boys' club. I thought Tim Silvers would come in here with a silver bullet. But it's the Stockholm Syndrome. Google if you don't know what it is. Become them. You become the same as the captor. He thinks the same. Tim, I want you on tomorrow, and we need to drill down on what your plan is from here forward. Because they're coming for you. They're coming for the club. When I say they're fans. You're fans.
Obviously, Rowie there, we could have played that right off the top. That sort of comment has gone national, and I think it's justified when it comes to the back of house stuff. We did briefly touch on it at the beginning of the show. I wanted to play it because I think it's very, very important that does this now, a line in the sand moment, they do need to change. I don't think throwing an assistant under the bus is the right call here because I think it goes a lot deeper than that. But where do they start from?
Probably actually being honest and admitting what things haven't worked. And I think there's been a lot buried in terms of, and as we said, about development, about recruiting, things there, decisions there, and some past appointments. Yeah, it's hard to argue with the thought. Some of the accusations of a boys' club I totally agree with. Mm-hmm. Some I don't, but some I totally agree with. Yep. Yeah.
So this leads me into my next point, and hence the reason why I held off on it, is that Adelaide have lost a lot of respect from opposition. No one fears them.
No.
What are the non-negotiables? You look at Collingwood and you go, effort, attitude, and team first. Now, that even when I played football, that was always the mantra, but I just don't see that at Adelaide. This is the problem, and this harks back to Sydney and Geelong having fantastic front-of-house teams that just allow them to play, whereas there just seems to be this politics that is going on throughout Adelaide and has for a number of years, and this is what's causing these non-negotiables to play out on field.
I'd kill to have Tom Harley at Adelaide Football Club. Leave it at that in terms of my thoughts there. Yeah,
I think prying him out of Sydney might be a bit difficult at the moment, mate.
I don't think it's. No, obviously I know Tom, and that's not. And
that's I know Tom as well. Yep.
He's not leaving Sydney in a hurry. No. Don't think he's allowed to.
But but I also think that you're right in that strong leadership.
Yeah.
But also strong when he needs to be, but plays in the background when he needs to play in the background. And Sydney have gone from strength to strength. Very,
very good operator. And Brian Cook set the scene. And, they've been strong in presidency, strong in administration.
Yep.
Things have followed over the years. Yep. Yeah.
And Adelaide seemed to be there through the obviously the late 90s into the 2000s, but since that point there, it's sort of unfortunately gone downhill a little bit. All right, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but let's look at another positive for Adelaide in that Luke Nankervis was named Rising Star for round 13.
Oh, look, he has got some promise for the future, and I think he was overdue for a decent crack. He got bizarrely made sub a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't work that out. So I think there's some selection things there with Adelaide too. And, goal pass sort of comment with someone like Lockie Murphy, etc., and things like that just have bombed. And I'd certainly query the whole coaching panel in that one.
Yep. Obviously, again, just going back to the recruiting a little bit there, Michael Annie, Rochelle and Curtin are probably the last three that are on those lists as far as top selections. I think Michael Annie's a pass for me.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that.
Trying circumstances
I think
when you think about it.
I think he's more than a pass at the moment. He's been very good.
Yes. I think Rochelle's a pass, but there's a but about him.
I think there's. I don't have that as a pass yet. I think the but is more appropriate at the moment than the pass, and then you've just got to wait and see.
I have him as a pass on the basis that I think his best football is brilliant football. I just think he's a bit at sea, and then the gap between good and bad is probably the defining point.
And it's been a worry that there's been probably 3 or 4 times this year where it was time to put the body and commit and didn't. And that's, for mine, is always someone which leaves a huge question mark over his head.
But I also think that's a little bit of lack of confidence.
Yeah, it's anyway, a bit of both.
It is what it is. All right, let's move on to Port Adelaide. Obviously, Adelaide being the big talking point. In a way, a little bit lucky that they played on Thursday last week, but because of what's happened over the weekend, they're still in the firing line. But Port Adelaide had the bye on the weekend. How do we see them? Does the bye give them that refresh to assault the finals how they would like at this time of the year?
I think so, because it gives Rosie another week where he probably would have tried to play next week, where he might actually hit the ground running this week. Those three, so see how the dynamic trio goes against GWS this week.
Mm-hmm. Port Adelaide will be obviously looking to redeem themselves from a game that they probably would have liked to have picked up against Carlton at home. But who do you trust more at the moment, Port or Essendon?
Port personally.
Yeah, well, Essendon is still my enigma, and they probably proved me a little bit right after the weekend. We'll stick with Port Adelaide, obviously not too much as far as on the ground goes at the moment, but off the ground, Port Adelaide might be looking at playing back in China. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
Look, I'm all full of credit for Port Adelaide in the first place with that. And let's also get right there. They got that up to cost neutral and then profit very quickly. So I think, full credit to Port Adelaide, where Keith Thomas and then David Koch and that, etc. But Keith Thomas saw that, hang on, there's just not enough big businesses around Adelaide. We've got to have a crack at this bit in China. Mm-hmm. And it was entirely from left field and all that. Yep. And it was working.
Yep.
Now, the world then changed. But I say good on Port Adelaide for that. Yeah.
So where do Port fans sit on it? Because, they didn't have some successful years in the China experiment, so to speak. And the big thing to come out of it was, well, we shouldn't be selling a home game or playing a home game all the way over in China. But
No, it wasn't a home game. It was an away game. It was an away game.
Sorry, my apologies there. But, playing away in China, obviously the travel factor and everything else that goes along with it. Is it a good idea that they're putting business and the survival of their club because of the financial assistance?
It is. They're multi-million-dollar corporations, and you've got to raise a hell of a lot of money to function. It is a business. In that stage, as a business decision, for us to survive financially, we've got to go and play a game in China. I totally get that.
Yep. So then that leads me into my point that everyone would love Nord to be in the AFL, but there's your point in case, or case in point, that there's not enough big business to support a third team, so it does make it mute as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think so.
If the world changes in a big way and all of a sudden money becomes available and free, which is never going to happen, it changes things a little bit.
I think it's pie in the sky stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's stick with the AFL. We'll obviously talk a little bit more Port Adelaide next week, but the Brisbane Lions getting up over the Bulldogs?
Yeah, just a bit too good, really. They've got a good record against the Bulldogs lately, we mucked around. A couple of the boys, the Matheson boys, are huge Brisbane fans. Mm-hmm. We mucked around, said they did very well to be at the game and jump the fence and umpire because Brisbane got a crook old run in the first half, so it was a bit of fun there. But it still keeps Brisbane alive, well, technically.
I now add Brisbane to my team of enigmas because they're on 1 minute off the next, but they've got 3 or 4 games coming up at home, which I think is going to
They can build some momentum and actually have a crack.
Yeah. Hawthorn getting up over the Giants. A controversial free kick there, or do you think it was there? For me, I thought it was there.
Look, it's controversial. I can see why the umpire paid it. Now, I thought it was fine still, but I do see you can argue that it was late. Now, the comment got made, well, why in the hell is the kick down the ground not there? Well, that's the ruling now. The rules changed. It used to be if that went out on the full, it had to come back. No, it's not. Now, the greater penalty applies, so it was down closer to goal.
Yep.
So that was a correct decision.
Yep.
Look, the one...
Even though it went out of bounds on the full?
Yep, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's now been changed.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep. I did check on that one, so I'll give Sam his due there.
Yep.
Don't agree with him on the next one, but yeah. Look, for me, one of the worst decisions I've ever seen was the AO holding the ball.
Well, we'll move on to that one. The Eagles unfortunately succumbing to North Melbourne, and I did have it in my hot topics, but we'll talk about it now. North Melbourne finally get their first win of the season at round 13.
Dumbfounded to hear Ray Chamberlain today on radio, and Ray Chamberlain agree that there was massive doubt whether he dragged it under. Mm-hmm. He then said, that didn't matter on this side of things.
I actually heard the same thing, yep.
And I nearly had a prang. I'm going, bullshit, of course it matters. And for mine, that shows where umpiring's at with a real confusion, a lack of footy nous, a lack of having played the game. Now, Ray to say that's their instructions. Well, the instructions are chronically wrong. Mm-hmm. You're penalising a guy there who had the ball for a split second. Mm-hmm. He didn't pull it back under. He took possession.
Yep.
Just a horrendous decision. And it pisses me off big time that the AFL just, what a surprise, they'll admit an error against a little interstate club without much power up in Brisbane, but they won't admit one against West Coast. Mm-hmm. Now, it just had to admit, no, hang on, we've stuffed that up. They're examining that. That should not be a free kick. That should have been a ball up. And to say for the thing, was it a thing with a necessity for the umpire to pay it? No, of course there wasn't. Yep. If the umpire balls that up, calls for a ball up, no one questions that. It needs more common sense. Let's get the writing, split it down to common sense, not that bullshit of paying that. It was horrendous. Yeah.
Let's rewind that a little bit. Do you think the West Coast player was a little bit surprised he didn't give away the free kick? Because he sort of almost got up on his knees, took possession of the ball, expecting the whistle to be blown for the going back high contact. You know, it was a split-second thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a hard thing. But to get pinged for holding the ball for being on your knees, he didn't drag it. You're right. He took possession to give the ball off. It's not like he grabbed it and held onto it. He was looking to give it off and then get set upon.
No,
so
horrendous.
Totally agree with you.
Absolutely horrendous.
Totally agree with you. The Suns a little bit unlucky against St Kilda. Another umpiring decision that was a little bit ticky-touchwood.
Yeah, it was. Look, St Kilda were running the ball forward. Who's to say that they wouldn't have gone there anyway? But it was a poor decision. They were both holding each other. Again, a lack of footy now. So I know I went through, of the 32 who were on the panel, 4 had played adult football about 4 years ago. Now, I guarantee that hasn't changed much. Mm-hmm. So not only the positioning where they were being instructed wrong, it does come out with just the lack of having played footy. Someone with a bit of footy nous there is calling that play on.
Yep.
And it was just really poor again. So it was like a game of chess too. And I blame there that Gold Coast just had to take the game on more. Now, it's Ross Lyon to flood. Well, just take it on and go. Go quickly. Try and put them under pressure. Both teams were too cute.
Yep.
Yeah, it was...
It was an interesting game for me, and then obviously both coaches come out and go, well, It was the ugliest game ever, and et cetera, so it made it hard. Sydney starting off a little bit slowly against Geelong, but boy, oh boy, did they finish very, very strong, kicking about 10 goals after the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. Winning by 10 goals after the...
Yeah, it was about 11-goal turnaround, effectively. Yep. Look, once those three, the dynamic three, go to work, and we're saying about the Port three, well, I think these three are even, especially Warner, the pace of Warner, the clean ball use of Heaney and Gordon. It's the elite leg of that three. It just slices teams open. I think they're more a team you've got to just go one-on-one more, and if you try, because teams are trying to play the zone against them.
And they're just picking them off.
Yeah, you just got Gordon, his kick, and Heaney's just goes through it.
Yep.
For mine, I'd go back the old-fashioned way against Sydney and see how that goes.
Let's just rewind for 2 seconds. Talked about the umpiring and obviously the 4 umpires. We've talked about it previously. And you've just sort of said that there's only been 3 or 4 people on that panel that have played football.
Adult football.
Just a question without notice. Is it a case that they're recruiting athletes to keep up with the pace of the game?
I just think there's not, because umpiring is sort of so poorly regarded. It's you're sort of a leper. If you're going to, it's a maggot as an experienced umpire. It's almost like you're different. You umpire. Mm-hmm. You're weird, and I think that then impacts it. So people finish their playing career aren't really encouraged enough. There's been a couple fast tracked out of it, but I don't think it's done enough. And
so is that poor planning by the AFL 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think umpiring a bit in general it is, but I'm buggered how you change the perception.
Yep.
But, yeah, because it is. You're considered like you're weird that you umpire. Yep.
Sorry, I just thought I'd chuck that in. I did actually have that, and I was going to hold off on it, but you brought it up perfectly. And then probably the 2 bigger games for the round was Essendon v Carlton, with Carlton getting up by 26 points there. Yeah, I
just thought they looked too good, really, all game.
Well, they smashed Essendon early, and then Essendon just could not recover.
Yeah. And Carlton I just thought Carlton did it on the bit, really, and just looked a class above. Yep. So that's interesting, West, and it was sort of their big test. Now, they failed that dismally. Yep. It's only one game, but
that's why
I think there's still, with Essendon's draw to come,
there's
still big questions on Essendon.
Yep, and that's why I asked whether Port or Essendon, do you trust them a little bit more? Because obviously the big test was against Carlton and they didn't pass it. And then the last one was Collingwood getting up over Melbourne. Melbourne seem in complete disarray at the moment, don't they? In every shape, way and form.
Yeah, their forward line's not functioning. There doesn't seem to be the connection. And look, their list is better than that. You know, you look at their list and let's remember they played the best quarter and a half of football that we're ever going to see. Yep. Like that grand final. Let's remember that they were over 3 goals down halfway through, and they won by 72 points. Like it was unbelievable, and yet now they can't seem to have any connection and don't look like they're going to score whatsoever.
Now, we talked about off the ground earlier on in the season. Is this a case of things catching up with them a little bit? Because we're sort of seeing it with Brisbane as well.
You do wonder. That's all you can say is you wonder.
But you look back over the journey and you look at the clubs that do have some off-field problems. Generally, it catches up with them at some stage.
Yeah, and then you can see, hang on, Sydney at the start of the year don't play a player because of something off-field. And you thought, wow, hang on, this is pretty extreme.
Yeah, but I trust Sydney's back of house or administration to be able to handle that.
Well, yeah, and they seem to at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, mate, we're going to take a very.
Let's also remember on the Sydney one, they're not the first footy club, and they won't be the last for that sort of thing to happen.
Exactly right. All right, mate, we're going to take a very, very quick break. We're going to come back with our tips for round 14, but we're also going to talk, obviously, some pretty big AFL hot topics.
You're listening to the Game On podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Are dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
And once again, we thank Roger Steen for his continued support.
Thank you, Craig.
Absolutely, thank you. Mate, let's get into round 14, the Lions v St Kilda.
Yeah, I'll go for the Lions up there.
I will too. The Bulldogs v the Dockers. It's at Marvel Stadium.
Marvel, but yeah, it's toss the coin over who you trust. Do you trust Fremantle away? You can argue that Darwin was away and they dominated against Melbourne and that. Yeah, I'll go for the Dockers.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Dockers as well. Richmond v Hawthorn in Dusty's 300th.
Yeah, I'll go for the Hawks to ruin the party.
Ooh, interesting. I'm going to go Richmond on pure emotion. Sydney v Adelaide.
Sydney by plenty.
Yeah. What's your tip on that one? How many points do you reckon?
I've gone 48.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go 56.
Yep.
North Melbourne v Collingwood.
Collingwood
For me. Giants v Port Adelaide.
over there. I'll go the Giants.
Port coming off the bye.
Yeah. Either way.
Giants,
it's a big game.
Giants are
I know, they're both...
bit surly at the moment.
Yeah.
Dropping some games they probably shouldn't have dropped.
Yeah. I reckon I might have a look at that game Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I might be at a pub to watch that one, I reckon.
Fair call. And then buys to the Suns, Carlton, Geelong, Essendon, Melbourne and West Coast. What do you think about all of these buys happening at about the same time? I mean, it's great that we spaced it out over the weekend, but we've got no more Thursday night, which leads us into our hot topics. We've got no more Thursday night games.
Oh, look, I don't mind that in terms of this time of the year. It's bloody cold and all that. And yeah, it's designed for TV. I get that. But you're not exactly really going to want to go in this sort of... So I get that, but...
If it's designed for TV, then shouldn't Brisbane and Gold Coast and maybe up in Darwin or Alice Springs be getting maybe some of those games on a Thursday?
Yeah, I think there's a strong point for that. Yeah, and probably West Australia, it's not quite as cold. So, yeah, I think you can make cases there.
Yep.
The West Australian time zone doesn't really work. That's probably a bit of a problem.
Yep.
So,
but it doesn't so much on the East Coast, especially up in Queensland at the moment, which is where I would have been playing bowls if I hadn't had my operation. Yeah. But anyway, that's another story. Melbourne's assessment of Petrarca, absolutely in the cold light of day, not correct. No. I think disgraceful, a little bit too harder and harsher term to use, because the player's always going to say, no, I'm all right, let me go. But the doctors have a duty of care, don't they?
Yeah, it's one where normally the doctor would have come in and gone, it's too bad, you're off. So, yeah, I'd love to hear the doctor's explanation over why that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Because he was clearly struggling to get off the ground.
Yeah.
Then struggling sort of in his little warm-up to get back out on the ground, and then to be allowed to go out there, and then his first possession looked like, don't touch me because it's going to hurt. And then we find out ruptured spleen and broken ribs and bleeding in the internals that you do not want to be having. So who's at fault? Player, medical staff, or coaches? Because we've seen it again. Rosie was a classic example as well.
I'd like to hear the explanation. That's all I'm saying out of that. But, because I know what I heard about Port with those concussion, and I back one of the doctors in there big time. And so, I'd like to hear it. On the outside at the moment, you've got to criticise the medical decision in that. Purely from the outside, that, it didn't look responsible care.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool. Have we seen such a complete team as Sydney as what we're seeing right now?
You can argue they're as good by foot as any team ever, especially with just having 3 or 4 just absolute elite. Probably a little question mark on defence. They probably lack a little bit of depth in defence in the talls. You know,
So do you think
McCartan has got with his concussion record.
Yep.
So do you think that worry? But
do you think that midfield's papering over a couple of little chinks in the Sydney
not so
armour
much
a little bit?
Chinks is probably a little unfair, but if you've got to find the area where they potentially could get exploited, it is tall forwards come finals. Is a potential exploitation. But that midfielder with Grundy at the moment.
Well, he's been the final piece of their puzzle, really, when you think
Jordan
about it.
is the tagger, and he went to Stewart on the weekend, which was probably a role I thought he might have gone to an on baller, but he blocked Stewart, and that seems to stuff up Geelong's run and rebound.
Yep.
And the other thing there, the big tick for Sydney is, and it was also the Carlton game where Carlton kicked the first 4 against them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to panic and just back their systems. We can blitz, we can kick 3 or 4 3 or 4 in 5 minutes to get us back in it and overtake. And so far, that's proven to be correct.
It's taken a bit of a leaf out of Collingwood's book, hasn't it?
Yeah,
the system will stand up no matter what, and whoever comes in and their injuries that they've got at the moment and how they've been able to cover. I mean, would have you ever thought that Billy Frampton would have got a game in Collingwood, let alone be?
Yeah, I know.
Forget the premiership one. That's a whole nother argument. But at the moment, he seems to be playing a role that is easy.
They seem to be able to get people to play roles more and adjust to the role and contribute more than anyone else.
I don't have this on the running sheet, but I'm going to ask it now, is that Jack Cale was probably, and Timmy G pointed it out in his interview with us, is that Jack was able to do that effectively.
No doubt about that whatsoever.
McRae's almost in the same boat.
Someone like Adrian Settre, coming up from the reserves but doing the job in finals, where Jack Cale was unique, his ability to sell bullshit. And as Timmy G said, convince him that he was better than Platten, where deep down you knew, of course, he wasn't, but he managed to sell that and get the player to believe. If anyone who proved that sports played above the head and get the best possible results because of that was John Cale.
Yep. Thought I'd chuck that one in there anyway.
No, that's a good point.
Is tagging back in vogue?
Yes.
And is it because of the holding the ball decision now, or is it a case of we've tried our system against your system and whoever's got the best system will win? Or is it a case of, no, these best players cannot be let off the leash because they are going to be lethal?
And also then someone like Carlton plays a couple and they're doing the job,
Chincotto.
I was trying to get pronunciation correct. And Hewitt, and it's working, that all of a sudden, and then Windhager for St Kilda, where Harley Reid was easily best on ground at half-time a couple of weeks ago, that St Kilda game. He blocks Harley Reid out, frustrates Harley Reid, who gives away some free kicks as well. Hang on. Some old-fashioned method might actually work. Everyone's jumped on board a bit, and all of a sudden, so Port playing Drew mainly as a tagger. Clubs, the better club, the clubs actually around the mark are doing it.
Then it's becoming a trend. Now, you did mention a little bit earlier on that Sydney's weakness or chink a little bit could be that you play one-on-one. Adelaide have got nothing to lose this weekend at the end of the day.
No.
Do they play the run with tagging roles on those 3 players to at least break even? I mean, I'm under no illusion, and I'm sure you're in the same boat, and a lot of fans, unfortunately, would be in the same boat, that Adelaide can win, but can they at least make a contest of it to get some respectability back? Because like I've mentioned a little bit earlier, that no one fears them, no one respects them. But if they can do that against one of the best sides going around at the moment, does that help in getting them a little bit of that respect back?
Why not try it? Because if they don't try it,
they're going to get belted.
And Sydney's skills got on top, they're lucky it's a night game, because therefore the ball's probably going to be dewy and it's going to be on the ground. So I think, because otherwise I could have seen a triple figure in terms coming out there. So I think why not try it and just go brutal and even,
Well, if Matty Nix DNA is contested ball, this is the
I think
perfect storm for that to happen.
Why not?
run with it. Dusty not doing any media. Are we surprised? Have they missed an opportunity there?
Not a surprise at all with Dusty that's him. Sorry about that in the background.
Right. That's all right.
I am waiting on another different call. That wasn't the one I was waiting on.
No.
Probably a little bit disappointing, but that's Dusty. You can't force anyone to do it.
No.
You can't make anyone speak.
Yep.
Now, and Richmond going, well, hang on. He's not comfortable with it. We're going to get out. We're going to get over 80,000 there anyway because it's him.
Mm-hmm.
So be it.
Well, you only need each member to put 50 cents in and they've paid the fine, haven't they?
Yeah,
At the end of the day. He hasn't done a lot of media previously, so
I'm
not surprised.
No,
I'm not surprised.
Just him.
And I know the AFL, they pay very good money for broadcast rights and they want greater access. That's probably the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But if a player hasn't done it for 300 games or done it very rarely for 300 games, why expect him to start now?
I don't think you can force anyone.
Yep.
So it's not him. We move on. You play Dusty highlights.
Yep.
Let's be honest. You can play a highlights tape of him is as good as anyone. So just go with that.
Half an hour highlights for sure. And I think Jack Rewalt did a little bit of an intro to it, and I think it was quite smart as well. All right, mate. Yeah. Let's play a new game. Quick handballs here. Let's go through these really, really quickly. Which of the current coaches would you like to play for at the moment?
McRae.
I'm in the McRae bandwagon as well. And I think Fagan a little bit as well.
Yeah, I just think McRae, they seem to have got huge buy-in and love and respect and that sort of thing, probably more than anywhere. Longmire maybe a bit as well, but if I'm forced, it's McRae.
Fair call. All right, let's move on very quickly. Sunday night twilight games should be a feature of long weekends, but do they need to be blockbuster games though?
Yeah, I think they need to be blockbusters.
Yep.
Agree.
Fair call. The Lions are the new enigma with home games to come. Will they get back on track, do you think? You sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think yes is the answer.
They could spring 4 or 5 wins together. I don't know whether probably the one Ashcroft has been out for way longer than 12. It's over 12 months now. I'd like to know where he's at because he's obviously so important. And look, they've done 5 ACLs. Both Brisbane and Richmond have done something like 5 ACLs each. It's been crazy. Like that then has effect for the next year as well.
Yep.
So it's a hard one.
It is. The road to 13 or 14 wins gets you to finals. Who is likely to sneak in or drop out?
Well, the club at the moment who's all of a sudden become a chance from nowhere, from none for 5, is Hawthorn. So, again, it's just so hard to tell, but I think there's probably about 6 out of it, and the remaining 12 are well and truly.
So from 6 to 13, you've got Fremantle, GWS, Gold Coast, Melbourne, Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn.
Yeah, they're all chances. Gold Coast need to get a couple of that game might come back and bite them on the bum.
But if they pinch one away game and continue, obviously, with the home form, then you probably say they sneak in.
Yeah.
Do you see GWS or Fremantle dropping out? I didn't say Collingwood there because I can't see them dropping out with players coming back.
Look, there's still question marks on both those two at the moment. Now, GWS talent-wise, no, they make it, but do they have enough grunt and enough guys to charge through?
Yep.
And look, that game fluctuated back and forth on the weekend, and it is such a fine line. So, yeah.
Would we be talking
Fremantle are now suddenly, because their defence is very good, suddenly, if Amos and Tracy and Jackson combine and Walters plays his part, suddenly they become, they should make it. So, yeah, it's interesting.
We're going to talk next week about surprises and non-surprises for the ladder this year after we're around about the halfway mark and most teams already having their bye and all of that stuff going on. So we'll come back to that one. And then the last one for me on the AFL probably is AFL House not making decisions quick enough and direction. And you made mention of the umpiring as a classic example. And where does it go from here?
Why not actually have some honesty and just come out and go, right, the 4-umpire system has not worked. We're going to go back to 3.
Yep.
It's been a dismal failure. We're going back to 3.
Yep. The reason I put this on the agenda was that they're coming out each week basically having to justify decisions, individual decisions. There's a million decisions made in a game.
Yeah. And as I said, the one for mine was the one where they should have gone, no, that is incorrect decision.
Yep.
That they didn't.
Yep.
And that was pathetic.
All right, mate, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll come back with the SANFL, SANFLW, and the cricket.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
All right, mate, round 9 threw up some interesting results with the Panthers getting up over Adelaide.
Yeah, I think, again, that's showing Adelaide's lack of depth, as we've discussed earlier, and that's where they're at. Both Adelaide and Port lack depth.
Yep. Entertaining clash once again, the Bulldogs getting up over Woodville West Torrens, especially considering what the Eagles did to Nord the week before.
I went to that game. A Woodville West Torrens player, we won't pick on him, but this bullshit of kicking the ball on the ground, he was running into an open goal 15 to 20 metres out. He could have run in, handballed it over the top, or just kicked the drop punt straight at the goal umpire. No, he tried the dribble kick. You're talking a football. A football is an oval-shaped ball.
Yep.
It bounces in weird ways. There's only been 3 or 4 players, Dacos probably being the main one, Peter, that you knew when he kicked it that he managed to get the ball to bounce exactly the way he wanted.
Eddie Betts
and
is
Eddie
probably
Betts the other one.
The modern person who could do it. Yep.
Don't try and imitate it, though. Play the percentage, kick the frickin' drop punt, and he twice. So he's missed one. He's then got a set shot 30 to 35 metres out. Go back and just kick the drop punt.
Yep.
Don't make something more complicated
than what it needs to be.
Is.
All right, and then the King's Monday birthday with reported around about 7,000 approximately attending SANFL games, maybe inflated a little bit.
Yeah. Bit of gravy on it, but look, full credit to Sturt
Yep.
in terms of the whole setup,
Yep.
the food and wine bit. Look, great promotion, full credit. Now, I think there was a fair bit of mayo on that, but either way, it was a great crowd.
Yep, absolutely.
And
Sturt really did get the job done against
Nord.
Nord.
It was a seesawing game. Both Sturt did look the better team the majority of the game. Nord missed some set shots, though, which they could have put a bit more scoreboard pressure on Sturt in the first quarter. The old you miss goes down. They give away a free kick 1 second before quarter time. A bit of doubt on the goal there. My understanding is that the rule now is you can go back and move the snap direction around, provided you don't move off what the line would have been.
Right.
So I know we're here, but off a straight line. So starting out there, my understanding is now, okay, I admit I've left 2 messages so far trying to sort it out.
To
clarify the exact wording, and I haven't got hold of one of the league umpires yet.
Yep.
That's sort of my understanding. Look, Nord were also a bit unlucky in the last quarter. Look, I actually looked straight away. I actually, at the time, agreed with the umpire's decision where he called a ball up. I thought, the Sturt guy had a bit of a grab of that as well. From behind, I could see exactly why he bought it. And I looked, and he was actually in the correct spot. Watching it again on replay, no, it should have been paid as a mark 2 colour. It was an error. But I understand why he paid it.
Yep.
And that. So that was one of those things. But that then would have made it 7 points the difference in the last quarter. Game still well and truly on. So, yeah. But Sturt looked the better team. Nord probably lost a couple on ballers. They're in grunt in losing Cootie and O'Neill, and then Ling lost their class on the outside with Lingman's suspension.
Yep.
Nord are probably one small short. I think that's probably showed in the last couple of weeks that they lack a small crumbing half forward. I think they're back in the situation now where Bain and Lowe's been quite good on ball overall, but I think with Ward's weaknesses, he's got to go back to playing the small forward role.
Yep.
That's my own personal opinion.
Yep.
I'd be playing Liam Robinson. I don't see how you can keep playing a person up forward who can't kick. That's my own opinion there. So I don't agree with their selection, but that's just a personal opinion.
Team balance is team balance sometimes. So I get that. Yep.
But no, Sturt were good overall. Look, it's. I think Glenelg are the team to beat, and I've said that. I've said I think they've got the best side still.
Yep.
But I think it's.
Well, we'll go on to that game there where North Adelaide, took it right up to Glenelg there.
A couple of decisions didn't go their way, so it's a fine line. We know that. There's a controversial touch whether it was should have been a ball in or not, and that there would prove to be pretty important. So the Roosters were probably that's one of the Roosters' better performances for the year.
Valiant in defeat.
Yeah, and if they bring that effort all the time, they would have won a couple more. They blew the game against West Adelaide where their effort was queried. So, and at least there with Nord, we weren't good enough, but you weren't. It wasn't through a case of lack of grunt and lack of having a crack.
Yep. Opposition got on top and being at home as well. So
I thought at times we didn't take the game on enough. I thought we were a bit stop-start and should have moved and taken a bit more risks.
Yep.
So,
these things work themselves out over the course of the season. All right, let's move on to round 10. A bit of a split round here. A couple of buys thrown in there, but Centrals v the Panthers.
Yeah, I'll go the Dogs.
I'll go the Doggies as well. Port Adelaide v the Bloods.
I'll go the Bloods.
I'll go West Adelaide there as well. And Woodville West Torrens v Adelaide.
I'll go Woodville West Torrens.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the SANFLW, mate. It's all coming down to the final round to sort out the top four, and really you want the destiny to be in your own hands, and Norwood v West Adelaide is exactly where it is, because if Norwood win, that's it. They're in the finals. If they lose, then Sturt or West Adelaide can jump over them, and percentage becomes very, very important.
Yeah, I think there's been a draw there, though, so I think that gets rid of that. I think it's basically whoever wins that game. So there, Nord had got a slow start and then it got a bit on top, and at 3/4 time, I thought Nord should have won,
Went on with it.
Yep. Especially too, let's remember that Indy Rashid wasn't playing. Sturt's best player was playing an AIS, in one of those games, under 20s versus 18s.
Representation,
whatever, So it was missing, and so Nord have been a bit exposed. They've lost their last two. Been a bit disappointing, the legs, the last couple.
Going down to Sturt, obviously, by 2 points there. Central's getting on top over North Adelaide. South Adelaide flexing their muscles against Glenelg, which we sort of think are about probably the two best SANFLW teams going around, and South have really hit their
South
form.
Are well and truly the team to beat.
Yep.
I think they're South and a gap at the moment, actually.
And West Adelaide getting up over the Eagles. Now, as we've already mentioned just previously, Norwood playing West Adelaide this weekend in a finals-defining game. Sturt v North Adelaide. Sturt are probably getting North at the right time.
No, Sturt should win that game.
You would think so, which puts obviously pressure on the Norwood and Westies game. Eagles v the Tigers.
I'll go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers to rebound there. And Central Districts v the Panthers.
I'll go South Adelaide.
This time next week, we will have our final four, and we'll talk a little bit more, obviously, come finals time.
Be interested to see where South decide to rest some players that could affect that game.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to cricket. So USA defeating Pakistan in the T20 World Cup. This format is more than likely to provide some upsets, as we've already seen. Yeah,
it was an interesting result. There's been a couple, and then Pakistan not managing to chase 119, and you do wonder, and things like that. And then the next game. So maybe the wickets aren't great over there in terms of not coming on enough. I know they actually got made here, but there was also then problems with importing them where they were stored. I think it became a bit more complicated than they realised it was going to. So certainly not querying Damien Hoff whatsoever there. But it is 2020. It is that format that you really only need a player to come off, and
makes a big difference. Now I know you've got some. You want to talk about the T20 World Cup? The floor is yours, mate.
I want to thank Chris Brown, one of our loyal listeners, who...
And by the way, thank you for the feedback. We're always
Yes.
open to feedback.
Yes. So contacted me last night, and I admit, I was only aware of part of it.
You and me are in the same boat here.
So
Yep.
I'm going to read this out from Chris. Mistakenly believed that where teams finished in their group determined they went for the Super 8s phase, but not so. It's all based on team seedings allocated pre-tournament. The seeding system being used is terrible. Australia was seeded second in its group behind England. But even Australia topped their group. The rules are that we still stay second seed. In the Super 8s, we will have to face India, who are the top seed in their group, regardless of whether India finishes first or second in their group. It's an insane system. If the two Super 8 groups were based on where teams finished in their group, then the Super 8 groups and the semi-finals would look very different to what they will, due to these fixed seedings. We complain about the compromised fixture in the AFL, but this is a World Cup. The whole fixture affair should be fairer by not prearranging the 4 groups in the first place and not having fixed seedings that stay in place for the Super 8s. There's no reward in the tournament for seeded teams performing well in the group stages. The next game, Australia-Scotland, Australia might as well play you and me. It means no different.
Play the
it's
support
crazy.
stuff.
So if Australia beats Namibia, which they did do,
Yep. In
there's
about
no
25
incentive.
minutes.
There's no incentive to beat Scotland. The seedings stay the same, whatever. And if Scotland takes England's spot in the Super 8s, for example, they also take England's seeding, number 1, into the Super 8s, despite likely to finish second behind Australia in Group B. It's bloody insane, which means they only face one other top seed team in their Super 8s group, South Africa. You know, it's just unbelievable. So thank you to Chris for being
absolutely pointing
so
that out.
in depth.
Yep.
It's a Mickey Mouse tournament. It effectively went, because the cost was so much to set up and all that, and it was something like 30 million, whatever, use whatever figure. But the majority came back, well, playing England and India through ticket sales and TV rights, we're going to get that money back anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's all totally compromised. It makes the AFL look squeaky clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal.
That, and like you mentioned earlier on, we sort of had a bit of an idea as to how the World Cup was worked, but in any tournament that I've ever known, if you've got 2 sections, the first plays against the second of the other section, and the first plays against the second.
You just automatically assume you want to finish top of your group.
That's right. There's no incentive.
No, it's ridiculous.
So what, if Australia had basically come third in their group?
No, you sorry, top
second.
2. Yeah.
They come second in their group, it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
No different.
That's just absolutely insane. All right, mate, we're going to take a very, very quick break. When we come back, part 2 of the interview with Greg Blewett.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe. Past players, past legends, past legends.
What was your first reaction when you got with, we'll get Pete will find it, where you copped the grubber, the unplayable grubber. What did you think as it hit the stumps?
No, well, what can you think? What can you do? I mean, again, did that just happen? And because there were a lot of balls that misbehaved that particular test match. I mean, the cracks were huge, but not many did something different on the stumps.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was the only one to get bowled off a grubber like that. And
I reckon that's still the most. You're still the in terms of a lot of, and it always comes up in jokes when you're commentating, and all that sort of stuff, Bluey. But it's probably the one where you go, well, that's just ridiculous. Like, there was carry on at the G at one stage with Greg Chappell when the G was terrible, when the Test match against India, and when Gavaskar walked off and all that. That's a bit earlier on, obviously. But I reckon that's still the dismissal, where the one where you just, you still jaws dropped.
That's just,
it was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous.
What do you do? I remember in the first innings, like, really battling to be out. Like, I occupied the crease, but I really struggled to score at a good rate. And when I walked off that first innings in Perth, I went, no, if I bat like that again in the second innings, I'll get the same result. So I really made a decision, second innings, that I was going to come out and try and be a lot more proactive and take the bowling on more. And then to get that first ball, I was just walking off just going, well,
stuff it.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
That test match. So that's all you can do, I think.
Oh, I thought you took it really well. I reckon would have been some players who would have spat the dummy and thrown the bat and all that. So
toys out of the cot.
I think
you
actually took it very well.
Yeah.
Of course, you're also unfortunately known at Australian level. You got a few 90s as well, including one here, Bluey, and that which, as we know, if you converted 3 of them more, you probably end up playing more tests. So it's the old fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're right. Like I got one that really hurt was I got 91, I think, up in Brisbane, and it was just a shocking LBW decision.
Yeah.
And I was pretty confident I would have got 100 there. And then, I got the 299. So, I mean, the big thing with my test career is that, I got 400s and I got 1550s.
Yeah.
So, if I was able to convert, a few more 50s into 100s, then, there's no doubt I would have played some more test match cricket. You score 8 or 900s and less 50s, then that's sounding a bit better, isn't it? Like your average is a little bit better, and you're contributing to the side a little bit better as well. So, look, that's my doing. No one else's fault. So, at the time, I just wasn't good enough to be able to convert those 50s into 100s. So, unfortunately, that's just the way it was, and that's the reason I played 46 test matches and I didn't play maybe 60 or 70.
But you were involved in a pretty golden era, I suppose, for Australian cricket with, Ricky Ponting, Langer, Taylor, Hayden, and yourself coming through at that stage there. Spots must have been up for grabs.
Yeah, let's not forget Darren Lehman only played 23 test matches, and we all acknowledge how good Buff was. So, and, Stuart Law played 1, Martin Love played 5, Brad Hodge played 6. So, geez, there were some good players who, it was bloody ruthless for a spot there for a fair while.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's a really good point, and I think that's the difference being, like I was, in the end, an average test player. I wanted to be a very good test player or a great test player, and I think there's a line in everyone's career where they feel comfortable in the side and they feel like it's just another game of cricket. I know it's test match cricket, but I don't know whether you know what I mean. But
no.
And that's the same in Shield cricket as well. Like there's a little thing that happens where you go, right, you know what? I'm really entrenched in this side, and you're able to relax and play your best test match cricket. I never really. I mean, I had games where I felt like that, but I never had long periods of time where I felt like that in the Australian cricket team, and that was because the depth was so good. But that's where Justin Langer, Matthew Hayden, Ricky Ponting, they're all able to sort of get through that period and then really feel part of the side and then play their best test match cricket. And I just wasn't able to quite crack it, which was a little bit disappointing.
All right, on to my favourite game of your cricketing career, Bluey, and you obviously know which one that is.
I think we all know which one that is, mate.
So the Shield final here, and you think it was a game which fluctuated. Like those of us who followed Shield cricket knew, hey, this guy Gilchrist is pretty special, but geez, he did announce that in the Shield final. And then, the game ebbed and flowed. We didn't bat quite as well, out of the game. And probably, interestingly enough, the fielding by you and Buff really helped us. People forget that you got 2 vital run-outs. You ran Damien Martin out, I reckon, on memory.
Yep.
Got the first wicket of the game too, Bluey. And that just go through. And then you batting on the last day, and you were absolutely plumb LBW if we were playing 9 stumps. That was a shocking decision. Go through that. And, you went for a drive as well, Bluey. Go through the whole game.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, go through it, mate.
Yeah, it was just an incredible game. I mean, when people look at the scoreboard and they see that, Gilly made those runs at a run a ball or whatever it was, they scored a huge total. But they also probably don't realise that it rained for a quite a long period of that innings. Like it was almost
drizzle, wasn't it?
I reckon,
Yeah.
Malcolm, where it was just like a light drizzle, which wasn't enough for us to go off, but it was just ideal batting conditions where, the spin bowlers couldn't bowl, or if they did, it just, there was no purchase. They couldn't hold the ball properly. And same with the quicker bowlers. Like it just skidded on. There was no sight. It was absolutely perfect batting conditions. So we're on the wrong end of it there. But then from then on, we obviously just had to try and hang in there. And at one stage when I was batting with James Brayshaw in the second innings, we thought we could get the runs. And then he played a
terrible
shocking shot against Brad Hogg and donged one straight up in the air. And from then on, Jamie Siddons came out to bat and he couldn't run or couldn't hardly move with his injury. I think it was a hip or a groin. So it was a matter of just trying to save the game. And then I remember I got out not long after the second new ball was taken, and I honestly thought that was it. I thought that was the game, and it was the only time I've ever cried when I came off the bat.
You weren't alone there, Bluey. Yeah,
I was in tears. Yeah, probably along with you, Malcolm. So I thought the game was gone, and then we were watching on for a while, just waiting for the last few wickets to fall, and then, as we know, Shane George and Peter McIntyre, who both are absolute rabbits with the bat, were able to hold on. But it was like literally excruciating to watch. Like every over felt like half an hour. And I just thought, in the end, I just can't watch this. So I just, thought I'd just jump in my car, go for a drive, and try and kill some time. And so I did that, came back, we were still going, and then, watched the rest of the game with everyone else.
And the countdown with the ball, the ball from the hill, and
it just went forever. Like it just, when you're watching, it's like watching a footy team, try and hang on. Those last couple of minutes just feel like they go forever. And same with, some of the tight test matches that you're watching as well. The teams trying to hang on for a draw. That last half an hour feels like 2 hours. That's what it was like.
Oh, and it was just huge, wasn't it? When Macca finally blocked that last ball from Brendan Julian, and there was probably about there was certainly over 10,000 at Adelaide Oval by the time, and
everyone came down after work.
Everyone just flooded in, and then that week, it's the night at the Planet, I reckon, Players and the Planet, and we're back at Adelaide Oval the next night. As a Sheffield Shield nut was huge.
Yeah, no, we partied pretty hard. I reckon we had a ticker tape parade through the city the next day, which I found out late about, and I think I had to rock up in the clothes that I was in the night before. So I had a few stains down the shirt, and anyway, that was pretty cool as well.
Oh, it was just huge. As we'd lost the Shield final the year before at the Gabba, and just to finally, as a South Australian, and we certainly know what's happened since, unfortunately. It was just huge, and
no, it was huge, and that I was in the West Indies with that '95 tour.
I did realise that
previous final. So, a few of I think Carl Rackerman came over after that, and he was.
Oh, he would have been painful. Wouldn't he?
All the Queenslanders were out of control. So. It was nice to get the job done the following season.
Especially bloody Queensland's first ever Shield.
Exactly.
That ruined a lot of jokes in Australian cricket.
And they haven't looked back since. That's the other thing.
Haven't.
So we'll go through a couple more things here. We'll go quickly here, Bluey. I've done a lot of sports camps with Bluey over the years, Pete, and I'm still doing them with Tony Miles, by the way, Bluey. But Bluey, every year would be there'll be a throwing competition, and the kids and Bluey would go, "Oh, my shoulder! I haven't thrown for at least a year," and I'm just pissing myself laughing every time, knowing up come they, and Bluey just casually threw it about 50 yards past him at least every single time. That was always entertaining.
Yep.
And look, for people out there, Doug Walder's drinking stories are all completely true, Bluey. You know, some of those Australian sports camps, let's remember him. Remember that morning where he was throwing the soft drinks just out? You know, we don't want that crap in there. And some of those nights with Doug were just huge. There was one at Pembroke, and I met him that day, and of course, a couple, and I said, I better go. And you're going already? And he walks in, and he gets the rest of a six-pack and another six-pack for his nightcap. So 2 nights later, everyone else had gone. I'm just with Doug, and it was like I got my own sports night. And 4 hours later, still there. The better half's run. We had so many kids today, we had to have a night session. Yeah, it had been a bloody session, that's for sure. It was huge, wasn't it? It was hilarious.
I remember one of those mornings, it was
yes.
It might have been like a 9 a.m. start or something like that. And we were down there and we're trying to get organised, and it might have been about, 8:40 or something like that. And I heard the ice going and some rustling around, and what's going on over there? And there's Dougie packing the esky for the end of the day. So that was 8:40 in the morning. So he was getting his priorities right. Now I remember him taking some batting. So I think he used to do the shadow batting or something like that. Yep. And we go, right, Doug, you ready? And he'd sort of have a fag in his mouth, and I'm right. And there'd be 50 kids in front of him, and he's putting out his smoke. So I
remember one kid asked him how to play the reverse sweep shot.
Don't do it. Yep.
Dougie's replied, "It's a very easy shot to play. You try it, and I kick you in the ass."
Now, mate, you obviously stuck around with a little bit of cricket coaching after your playing days. Do you want
Australian fielding coaching role too, Bluey? Go through that, mate.
Yeah, delve into that a bit.
There was never really an intention, to be honest. I sort of went straight from my playing days into my media career. So that was all going beautifully until Channel 10 got the rights for the Big Bash. So I was working for Fox Sports at the time, or Fox Cricket, and all of a sudden I was like, right, well, the rights are gone. Do I stay with Fox and work a little bit less? Then I'd have to go on the road again, probably, do some international series, all that sort of stuff. And then I was over in England, and Buff just got the job with the Australian cricket team. And he rang me, said, "Carl, let's catch up." And I just thought, it was just a normal sort of catch up. And then he said, "Do you want to come on board?" And I was like, "Oh, shit." Never really, thought about it. And then I thought about it for a week or so. And then I just thought, you know what, if I'm ever going to, sort of scratch that itch, I suppose, with coaching, whoever gets the chance to start their coaching career with the Australian cricket team. And I just thought, it's too good an opportunity to not take up. So, I did that for a few years, and the family started growing again. So I didn't want to sort of stay on the road. So established myself back here in Adelaide. So, and then I started doing some coaching with the Redbacks. And then it sort of got to the decision where, do I want to pursue coaching? Do I want to be a head coach? And then I thought, with a young family, how many coaches, get past 4 or 5 years where they don't have to move again. And I didn't want to do that with a young family. So I sort of got back into the media. So that's how that all went. But the Australian stuff was brilliant, getting back with elite players and, experiencing World Cups and Ashes series in a different way was absolutely fantastic. I loved it.
Was it more relaxed? How did it vary? What you sort of, obviously as a player, you're tense. It's personal. It's inward. How about the overall function? How did you feel? And like trying to improve Travis Head as a fielder was one role, which you spent a fair bit of time with, where he's not a natural fielder. Just go through some things there, Bluey.
No, it was definitely a lot more relaxing. Not so much, I was an assistant coach. So, a lot of the pressures on the head coach and the captain and that. But I quickly realised it was really fickle being the fielding coach as well. Like if you had a great game, everyone held their catches, then you were brilliant. And then soon as a few catches went down, it was like, what are you doing? What's going on? So it was really, I found it a little bit frustrating that way. But no, I was able to really, when you're playing, obviously the nerves are there, and as a coach, you're nowhere near as nervous. I mean, the nerves are certainly there, but you're able to, enjoy it and sit back and watch the guys do their thing and be involved with it was really enjoyable. I loved it. But being back on the road was, a bit more difficult with a young family and going from country to country was challenging.
Of course, there was a bit of promotion there of Sam's golf there for a while. How's your youngsters? They still into their golf as much? Or
no, Sam. I said to Sam the other day, actually, do you want to have a go for a hit of golf? And he was like, yeah. He's never ever said no. But and then young Rory, who's 7 now, he was out. I've got a golf net in the backyard, so he was out there hitting a few balls the other day. But no, they're bloody cricket nuts. They love their cricket. So Sam had his first season last year, and Rory's going to have his first season this summer. So
is that with Walkerville or school or
at Walkerville? Yeah. At Walkerville for now. I just wanted to introduce cricket to them and see whether they liked it or not. And then we'll go from there. But at the moment, they're playing for the Walkerville Panthers under 10s and play Sunday mornings, and it's brilliant. I love it. I love going out with them. It's great.
Of course, media-wise, Bluey, Triple M mainly, and the commentary with the Test matches in Channel 7. Go through just how those sort of roles vary, and well, I reckon putting up with Andrew Jarman, you deserve a medal for that anyway. But yeah, just go through that.
You better throw Bernie Vince in there as well. I've got to put up with him.
Yeah, but at least he's more funny, I reckon.
No, very, very enjoyable. I love those boys. They're sort of like a second family now. And same with their families. Like, we've all gotten to know each other really well. So, hopefully that comes across on air as well.
Yeah,
like
it does. It does come across that you have good fun.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So, yeah, that's with Triple M Rush Hour. So we're Monday to Friday, 4 till 6. So been doing that for a few years now. So that takes up most of my time during the year. And then I'm flat out during the summer with both Triple M cricket and Channel 7 cricket as well. So little bit of Big Bash, but mainly Test matches. So, follow the circus around each summer. So
and how does that vary? It's like the Channel 7 side's probably a bit more serious side, a bit more intense than what the Triple M, where you have a bit more fun as well. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, well, TV's a completely different beast to what radio is. Often for people don't often know, for Channel 7, we've got to be there. We've got to be on site most days 3 hours before the first ball's bowled. So, whereas, radio, you rock up sort of half an hour before the first ball's bowled. So, completely different. Very long days for television. So I suppose a little bit more structured with the TV.
That's the word I was after.
And then radio, especially Triple M, it's pretty loose. So it's both of them. You've got to have. They're probably good for each other. Like my radio work's probably good for my television, and television's probably good for my radio. So it works out pretty well.
Have you ever been
a bit like us here, mate?
I wish. Ever been on the TV side and sort of like almost forgotten, and you've been still thinking on radio wise?
No, not really. Like it's probably good because you actually don't get much time off. Like you might get a half an hour block off from time to time, but a lot of people that just work in television or just work in radio, like in between your shifts, you go out the back and you're chatting and you probably miss a little bit of cricket, but when you're doing both, you're obviously keeping your mind and your eyes on the cricket pretty much the whole time. So you're just picking up little things all the time. So I really like it, and it makes the days go a lot quicker as well.
Yeah, there's once, Bluey, you're commentating on radio, Test match in Melbourne, and there's a questions come up. Name the last Australian batsman who's top scored in both innings. And I'm driving, Pete. I've got my trailer on, actually very close to your place, Bluey. It was down St. Peter, driving along Stephen Terrace, and I'm trying to ring Bluey, so I finally got a spot to pull over, and because the question had gone back, and you guys would go all on air, and you're going, is it Dean Jones? Is it this? Is it that? And it's going for quite a while. Being the cricket nuffy I am, I realised straight away it had been Peter Siddle who top scored both innings in a test match we got annihilated in India, I think it was. And Bluey's just read it. I've just got a message from a mate in Adelaide, and while I don't know, I know he will be correct, and it's Peter Siddle. Little did I know that there'd been bloody prize on the radio, and I didn't realise that I could have rung up and got that. But, yeah, so that was a bit of fun, though, Bluey.
Yeah, you took too long to find a part.
Yes. Yeah, well, I wasn't exactly the easiest spot at that stage.
Any help I can get is always a bit of a bonus, because that's what they like to do in the media. They put you on the spot, and then you're like, geez. So we always need a bit of help.
Yeah, that's where the nuffy in me comes out.
Yeah,
handy side of things.
That's a good pub quiz question there that would stump a lot of people, really, even the cricket sort of nuts that are going around, apart from the one sitting across from you right now.
There was another amusing one. Bluey was captain of South Australia in a one-day game against Tasmania, and we had to get a bonus point to keep our season alive. I think it was either to qualify for the final or make sure we were still a chance to make the final. And I didn't think much of Bluey's field placements and may have let him know. And Bluey's realised it was me, and he's done the motion, you come out and do better, that line.
Yep,
I'm sitting with John Edwards, who does listen to the podcast. G'day, Chook. And Chook's gone, well, go on. They can't ping you for going on. He's told you to get on the ground. So that was a bit of Bluey and I have had a laugh about that coaching, and I think you went, I can see what you meant afterwards, and so it was a bit of fun. And then maybe in a Shield game, this did come up with Peter McIntyre when we had Macca on.
Yeah.
Now, it was a Shield game against Queensland. You actually got relegated batting down the order in a run chase quite early in your career.
Yep.
And came out to bat, and there was a few people who started heckling you from the crowd. We got up and in the Magic Cave afterwards, and Mac has just stormed into the bar. How dare you have a crack at young Blewett, rah, rah, rah. And I've just gone, no, it wasn't me, Macca. And he's that bullshit, rah, rah. And the guy, Jeff Wilson, who also listens to the podcast, has gone, I'd love to say it was Malcolm Macca, but no, he was actually 3 rows behind the guy. And Macca just went, and walked out again. And Macca and I have had a laugh about that since.
More importantly, did I get us home or not?
Yes, you did, Gregory Scott. Okay. I've got to give you that. So, yes.
All right, good.
Yes.
Now, mate, we touched a little bit earlier on about your golfing. I'm sure you'd want to talk a little bit about that, but when you were playing cricket, did you get a little bit of golf in, or is this something that you've taken up since retiring?
No, I got a little bit of golf in when I was playing. I sort of used to try and play as much as I could. I thought it was brilliant for my cricket, just to, get away for half a day and concentrate on something other than thinking about, what was coming up in the next couple of days, the start of a game or whatever. I got really frustrated when I was filling in as captain for South Australia, and one of the main media days for a Shield game was the Thursday leading into. You had to sort of do the media on the Thursday leading into the Shield game, starting on the Friday, and that was always my main golf day. So that really pissed me off that I had to cancel my golf to come in and do half an hour media. But no, I loved it. And then since I've finished playing. It's just given me something to really...
And represented South Australia and played in a winning... I'm trying to remember what the golf thing's called.
It's called an interstate series, but so I represented South Australia. I was thinking I was about 40 years of age at that stage, but that was great fun. But it's just given me something to, I suppose, try and... Us ex-sportsmen need something to... really sink our teeth into. So it sort of keeps the competitive juices going a little bit. So I'm still able to do it. I'm 52 years of age now, and I'm still getting it out there a fair way. So
another hole in one recently, Bluey, and geez, we've heard about that a couple of times. Yeah,
I hadn't even come close to getting a hole in one for about 5 years. So one popped up the other day. So I got lucky.
And Ponting v Blewett.
Oh, I'd pay money to see that.
My understanding is it's reasonably competitive when you two play, and like the other players might be a bit more of a giggle. But I think when you play Ponting, it's used to be on a fair bit, Bluey.
Yeah, we're pretty similar. And now that we've started working together for Channel 7, we sneak a few games in here and there. So I think he got the early running, and I reckon I might have got him the last couple of times. So I'm sure this summer it'll be on again.
Well, there's a little bit of a goal for myself. What's the handicap at the moment, mate?
Oh, I'm embarrassed to say that I've slipped out to 3 now.
Oh, Bluey.
So, yeah, it's I've really struggled the last 12 months or so. I've almost I'm not going to say it's the yips, but
Ian Baker Finches.
I've just struggled a little bit. So I guarantee you, by the end of the year, I'll be back down to scratch. There you go.
Let's put it on the record now that we're the podcast that is going to bring you back to scratch, which would be fantastic, mate. Absolutely fantastic.
I will say one other. It was very funny, and you did it, guys. Do it very well on radio. Was waiting for you to have the nip and tuck operation. That was very, very funny, Bluey.
Which one was that?
Oh, with Triple M, with waiting for you to have the snip, mate. That was quite amusing. That
right.
coverage,
yes,
that was very good.
Well, we do. I mean, any little sniff that someone gets of someone, doing something that we might get a bit of humour out of, we run with it. So
it was good.
So no, I've no more kids, Malcolm. I'm done. So I'm tied up.
Court Marsh Bowl Lily finally, mate.
Exactly.
Now, one other subject. We will go serious for a minute or two, because this is a subject very close to my bone with Chris Grieger, motor neuron. Of course, you lost your mum Shirley to motor neuron as well, Bluey.
Yep.
And,
that was
terrible,
10 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
So time flies, but yeah, that was a horrible time in our lives, and sort of caught us all by surprise. I didn't know anything about motor neurone until Mum was diagnosed, and it was one of those. Fortunately, now it's a lot. I mean, they've got a lot better at diagnosing motor neurone. Because with Mum, it took us ages. We were like, we knew something was up, but the doctors just couldn't put their finger on it.
Well, they eliminate everything else before they declare motor neuron is
that's right. So
probably the best way of describing it.
Yeah. Whereas now they're a lot better. So I've recently come on board as an ambassador for MNDSA. I'm doing the big freeze on Thursday night at the Adelaide Oval. That's for Fight MND. So two totally separate, different charities, but I'm doing that on Thursday. So, just trying to get a lot more involved. I feel like now it was all very raw for me, Malcolm. So I feel like now I can sort of, now use some of my platforms to help out.
And that's why I brought it up, Greg, because I knew you were doing that Thursday. And along those lines as well.
We did the big walk the other day, which was brilliant. 900 people down at the River Torrens and raised over $100,000. So, it was great.
Yeah, that was with Griggy's daughter working there now as well, and it's
that research and the money that's being raised can only be a really, really good thing.
Yeah, I was trying to think Maddie's name there. Apologies. Bluey, we'll get you out of it on righto. Hardest batsman to bowl to, bowlers to bat against. Go for it, mate.
Hardest batters to bowl to. I'll tell you what, Brian Lara gave me a serious touch-up, as did Tendulkar. So,
both those two could bat a bit. They went all right.
They're the obvious ones. The guy that I found was the hardest was Curtly Ambrose. He was played a lot of cricket against Curtly, and he was just. There was one thing to survive, but the other thing was to try and score off him. And you combine the both, and he was just relentless.
Just his height and length to bowl at you, and the bounce to hit the splice.
Yeah, bounce. I mean, his pace was one thing. I never really struggled a lot against the pace, but the bounce was always, I think, more difficult than pace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was a handful.
Bluey, greatly appreciated, mate.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much for your
At least
time. And
Pete's also got to hear your answering machine now mate. So, yeah.
Well, that and hopefully we inspire you to get back up to scratch on the golf course there, and good luck for the season coming up.
No.
All right, good on you, lads.
Thanks,
for having
Bluey.
me.
Greatly appreciated. Thanks, Greg.
All right, see you, boys.
Thanks, mate. And we thank Bluey there for his time. Obviously, part two, talking a little bit more about his involvement in coaching and his golfing, and having a bit of fun there at the end with hoping that his handicap lowers, which I'm sure he'll be on the golf course.
Sacrilegious that for Gregory Scott.
Almost exactly right. All right, let's move on to happy days.
Happy days.
All right, sticking with the cricket theme today, happy birthday to Shane Watson, born on June 17. He is an Australian cricket coach, commentator, and obviously former cricket player. Watson was an AIS, Australian Cricket Academy scholarship holder in 2000. Before 2000, players who were part of the academy were required to play for their home state. In the following year, the rule changed, which then made him eligible as a free agent. He then chose to move to Hobart in Tasmania, where he was guaranteed an immediate place in Tasmania's state team side. What do you think about that, mate?
Yeah, it was controversial back then that he was earmarked, because everyone knew this kid's pretty good, and there was a talk around, and then he went to Tasmania, then ended up back with Queensland. He certainly got around, and let's also be honest, he's an enigma. He certainly loved reviewing an LBW. Even the fight was smashing in the middle, halfway up all the time, and it became a bit of a joke.
Yep.
And he probably lost a bit of respect around the traps for that, because he was an important player, and his bowling was handy as well.
Yep.
But, yeah, the enigma of the review, didn't help himself there.
Absolutely. He played for Tasmania in the second half of the 2001 Shield season, making his way up the order from batting at number 7 on debut to batting at number 4 by season's end. In half a season, he scored 309 runs, an average of 51.50, including maiden first-class century in his 5th match. He took 11 wickets on an average of 26.27. At the end of the season, he signed a 3-year contract extension, obviously, with Tasmania.
Oh, look, as I said, a lot of ability. I think he underachieved a bit, though, in fairness. He probably just didn't... There's
Didn't go on with it.
A little bit of similarities to what we were talking with Bluey last week, where, as Bluey said, if he'd converted 3 or 4 of those 90s into hundreds and kicked on, totally different. And Watson was a bit similar there.
Absolutely. Watson scored 14 centuries in national cricket, 4 in the Test matches, 9 in the ODIs, and 1 in T20 International. He scored his maiden T20 International century in 2016. He became the 10th player in history to score a century in all 3 formats, and the first Australian to achieve that feat. So he was around the mark.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, and he was a very good white ball player. He was probably better there than Test level, but just didn't convert enough. And I know I'm harping on, but there's also another similarity that both him and Bluey made 4 Test hundreds.
Yep.
So, there
you go.
A bit ironic.
All right, sticking with cricket, mate, in 1948, we're going back a fair way here. In his farewell Ashes tour, batting maestro Don Bradman, which we've spoken about a million times on this show, but we have to keep bringing it up, scored 138 in the first Test at Trent Bridge.
And I'm sure his last Test innings will come up again at some stage too as well. Yeah, look, you can never have enough Bradman. Any stats, time for a bit of stats, shove Bradman in. That's probably the easiest way.
Well, I mean, I could have gone a million different ways, but unfortunately this one being obviously his last Ashes, very important. And obviously as an Australian, we get up and about when it comes to Ashes time. All right, let's move on to NBA basketball 2002. Talking of NBA finals, Los Angeles Lakers beat New Jersey Nets 113-107 in a 4-0 sweep. And third straight title, MVP Shaquille O'Neal for his third consecutive final series.
He certainly had a huge big game record, didn't he? You know,
I mean,
know
you look at
about
Jordan
and all that,
yep.
but geez.
Shaquille O'Neal can't be discounted as well.
Exactly.
Big boy. And gives a lot back to the community as well, which not a lot of people obviously know about there as well. All right, let's move on. 1989 Men's French Open Tennis. American. Couple of my favourite players here back in the late 80s, early 90s. American player Michael Chang wins his lone career Grand Slam title, beats Stefan Edberg, who was a favourite of mine as well, 6-1, 3-6, 4-6, 6-4, 6-2 at 17 years of age, 110 days, and becomes the youngest male ever to win a Grand Slam singles title.
Sort of arrived with a bang and disappeared pretty quick as well.
He was a grinder, though.
Yeah. But you thought, Leighton Hewitt was a grinder as well, but he hung around, had a lot longer than Chang did. And, you certainly thought 17, geez.
Where to from
here? From here. Can he build up more? Can he get a bit more power and all that? But he disappeared just as quick.
But we talked last week briefly about how Leighton was in an era where there was a lot of good players coming through. Chang was almost in the same boat where Courier, Agassi, Sampras all sort of were in that same boat as well. So
that's fair.
But still a great player in his own right. I used to love watching him play.
Yep.
And just to finish us off today on Happy Days, a bit of sporting history. Cristiano Ronaldo in 2021 removes a sponsor's Coke bottle from his press conference at the European Championships, prompting the company's share price to drop by $4 billion very, very, very quickly.
Incredible, really. And you sort of think, oh, well, there's a bit Mickey Mouse about their sponsorship and all that, but geez, you upset someone and there's something's happened there, and
it's amazing how sporting players and sporting sponsorships can be influenced by one little movement. Crazy in the end. All right, let's get into the extra time big finish.
Extra time big finish.
All right, let's kick off with tennis. French Open, Alcaraz crowned the new king of clay. Let me spit that out.
Yep.
The new king of clay.
Yeah, and look, he would become the youngest ever holder of the all four majors, the four Grand Slams. In regards to that. So, pretty incredible. He could be well and truly the next big thing in tennis. Yep.
Eva Swiatek obviously does it again on clay. She seems to be at the moment probably head and shoulders above when it comes to clay, and also sort of in the rankings. I know it's a little bit more open, but she seems to be the one for me. Alex de Minaur just falling short against Zverev, who obviously then went on to lose to Alcaraz in the final. What do we take from Alex's matches? I know he lost in straight sets going down to Zverev, but it was a lot closer than we thought.
Yeah, but it was actually quite close. I'm trying to remember now. I think he only lost. It was 12 less points for the match. I thought he made a step forward for his career overall this tournament. Is probably the best way.
Whereas
to put
the
it.
Australian Open, it felt like he took a step back with the way that he lost that.
So he fell away.
Totally agree. A bit of an end of an era. In that the first time since 2004, that's 20 years ago when you actually really, really think about it, in the men's semi-final didn't feature Federer, Nadal or Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, incredible, really, isn't it?
It just shows you the longevity of those three.
Yep.
I think there's going to be no doubt that they're going to be talking points for 20 years down the track.
Yeah.
But, the first time since 2004.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Incredible.
All right, let's talk about the NBA in the basketball. We're obviously getting to the pointy end.
Yep.
But at the moment, surprisingly, Boston are at a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, so, that is a surprise. And
well, it wasn't supposed to go that way. It was supposed to be a lot tighter than what it was, but yet Boston have come out the blocks and really gone completely nuts. And Luka Doncic and Tatum seem to be the two that the Mavericks are going to rely on, but Doncic may be a little bit injured.
It's going to be hard to come back from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of home games, and all of a sudden it could go the other way. Game 3, I think, is being played on Thursday. About when we're releasing the podcast. So we'll see how that all pans out from there. But you're right, it's going to be a long way back for the Mavs. NRL game 1 of the State of Origin didn't disappoint.
Just again though, Queensland is too good in the end again.
20-6 at half time. It looked like Queensland by how much? But the first 15 minutes of the second half, New South Wales came out and really put a bit of pressure on, but then after the 15-minute mark, bang.
They seem to be able to absorb the pressure consistently, Queensland.
Yep. Obviously, Queensland going on to win that 38-10, but interesting to see what Game 2 is going to throw up, because Game 1 didn't disappoint, that's for sure. Soccer, just briefly, this one came across the desk earlier on today. The Newcastle Jets in the A-League have new owners. The Maverick Sports Group have taken over ownership of the club.
Always interesting. We always see that with trepidation and see how it goes. We'll be observing closely from afar is probably the best way to put it.
See how that one pans out. And then just on the soccer a little bit, broadcasting rights pretty much will show where the A-League's at, because they're basically holding on to the broadcast rights with the success of the Matildas.
The Matildas are the key crucial element.
Just a question, or not question, but a moment without notice. Australia obviously winning one of their qualifying games there, and Nesta Irakundu, obviously well known to South Australians, getting a goal in that game there. And again, he doesn't disappoint when he's on the field either.
Yeah, he did the somersault predictably, was scored from a penalty there. Yep. And good on the referee there, because they showed it live, and even the commentator went, what the hell was that for? And then they've showed, it was actually totally correct.
Belt,
well done to Irakundu, and 5-0 win against Palestine in the last leg there. So, well done.
It's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out long term. All right, let's finish off with a couple of general questions to get us going.
I want to praise Paul Bowden. Paul Bowden brought it up, and don't worry, he will be being pursued on other matters in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Mate. But we're talking about the big clubs in terms of out towards north, in terms of Golden Grove now have 40-odd sides. This probably claims to be the biggest club in South Australia now.
Mm-hmm.
Modbury and Tetra Gully, over 20 sides each. So there's more people would go through Golden Grove in a week than go through any league club.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
you're talking SANFL club?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, in terms of just pure numbers. So you had the time when they introduced Woodville trying to weaken Port Adelaide, and it actually stuffed West Torrens up instead.
Mm-hmm.
That really where the side should have gone was the growth area out there. Now, again, whether there's enough businesses and whether you then take away the zoning, the supporters there attached to a club. Mm-hmm. But if you were saying at league level, once the AFL sides go and what the hell the SANFL do, and my understanding at the moment is it'll stay pro rata, but if you're saying if there's one spot metropolitan-wise who would have a claim to be able to come up with a site, it is probably out there.
The northeast area.
Yeah, so it is interesting there. So it was a good point that Paul brought up. I think it's a watch this space, but I understand exactly where he was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought it was a good point.
Could it be a case of a couple of clubs getting together in that area? And
I don't know. I just see.
I know there's a lot of water to go under the bridge.
Yeah, huge things will happen, and who knows where SANFL footy does it effectively end up becoming Div 1 and community football in years to come when footy park money runs out. Who knows? But I thought it was an interesting slant on the current situation. Mm-hmm. Well, whether there's enough business money to start up another SANFL side, how much it would then impact the other sides and all that. But I understand exactly where I think it's a viable point and certainly a point worth. It's an interesting discussion point.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought it up, and thanks to Paul for
your loyal listener as well
for bringing that up as well. Well, that feeds into our general comments anyway, but we'll talk about coaching masterclass of Adelaide's own Darren Cale with another player ranked at number 1.
Unbelievable record. every single player now he's coached has ended up at number one at some stage.
And even Agassi when he was on his way back.
It's an incredible record. Look, it's just another huge tick to Darren Cale.
Yep. And the Cale family, because his old man could just coach a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
The fight MND was once again a huge success everywhere it was held, but who was your favourite slider?
My favourite bit was when they showed the photo of the G and virtually...
It was blue.
Yeah, just the whole overwhelming bit of beanies was huge. And it's interesting there where Neil originally wanted bandanas and he actually got overruled on that one. I'd say well done. Look, for mine, I thought Erin Phillips's pink was my number one. I thought she looked incredibly like who's taking off. That got my big tick. Personally.
Well, I had two. I couldn't just. I loved Erin Phillips's pink, and I reckon Pat Rafter doing the Akadaka was. Yeah. You almost had to take a double take a little bit at one stage.
Yeah, he did play that well, and also well done that they did do it at. Yeah, as we said, other grounds as well. Yep. It was done at Unley as well. Aishi and Mitch Grigg, and obviously close to Nord's hearts, and obviously ridiculously close to the Grigg family heart side of things. Yep. But yeah, it was. Look,
wherever they've done it, it's been a success.
Yeah. And look, words aren't good enough for Neil Danaher. They just, as I explained, I actually was on Monday morning with KG and that, and explain a bit that we see the public side of Neil, the fundraising. People don't realise what he's done behind the scenes for everyone else with MMD. His support to the Lane family with Damien Lane had it, and Glenn Malloy was Damien's best mate, had played under Neil at Melbourne. But Neil contacts everyone. Mm-hmm. Griggy, I know from Chris that the time he spent with Neil that he was just blown away by just Neil's passion for everyone, and he contacted everyone. Wishing Stewie Verrill, he actually messaged me about 15 minutes ago, all the best there as well. Words just aren't good enough, and as I said, we only see part of what Neil Danaher's done. Yep. Yeah.
Fantastic again, raising over $2 or $3 million just on the day, and like you said, what a great sight, the MCG being bathed in blue, basically. And that leads me into my last point in that in 2 days at the MCG, you had 178,000 people plus attending the games over the long weekend. You talk about gather round, opening round, but maybe Melbourne can actually make these long weekends their rounds for the big blockbusters.
Oh, look, there's one thing you can't query is Melbourne Victorian people's support of the G. Yeah. I think we'll love to bag Victorians on a lot of things, but numbers of the G are just ridiculous.
Totally agree. And just a little bit of a reminder, we're going to switch up our past players, past legends replays from Wednesday. We're going to change that to Sundays just to space things out a little bit for our broadcasting. And obviously now that we've added the video element, there's a little bit of editing that does go along with that. And we thank anybody that has signed up, and don't forget to like, rate and subscribe, not only for the listening of the audio podcast. You now have a video podcast of us doing our thing on camera, and obviously some sponsors and bits and pieces like that as well.
Hopefully a bit more to come, a bit more news there in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Mate.
Thank you very much for your time once again, mate. We thank Greg Blewett for part 2 of his interview, and as per usual, we promise to do better.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at Sportscast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.